Just close your eyes. Know the peace within.
In duality, everything is a spontaneous happening. Though you are ever here, you come to know that you are only in this duality as I amness through the form. Knowing your presence as I amness itself is a spontaneous happening. Though you are ever here, you come to know that you are only for a certain duration, from morning till night, that you are as I amness. Knowing your presence as I amness itself is a spontaneous happening. In this spontaneous happening as I amness, space is manifested. It is also a spontaneous happening. In space, every object is appearing, which is also a spontaneous happening. And every object disappears. This disappearance also a spontaneous happening. Each and every happening is spontaneous here within duality. Because here there are no persons, and whatever perceived as object, as events or movements or disappearance, are only by the play of the elements at an unexplainable speed. This happening of the elements is also spontaneous. Movement of the elements is also spontaneous. The interaction of the elements at a different combination is also spontaneous. The manifestation of varieties of objects as both living and non-living is also spontaneous. This form itself is a spontaneous happening. Effortlessly it is happening just now. The breathing is spontaneous just now. Every heartbeat is spontaneous just now. Entire metabolic activities spontaneously happening just now. Here within space, at the duality level, everything is spontaneously happening by the play of the elements at the highest speed. Varieties of innumerable species or objects are happening, that too spontaneously. Your consciousness is yet to know that it is consciousness. Your consciousness is prior to all the spontaneous happening. But it is trapped by every happening because your consciousness is yet to know itself Your consciousness is yet to know that it is only consciousness at present. There are no persons here. Each and every form is happening spontaneously just now by the play of the elements. In your consciousness only, this spontaneous happening is happening. You are prior to the happening, you are prior to the moment. You are not spontaneous, you are ever here. But every movement is spontaneous out of your consciousness. Since your consciousness does not know that it is consciousness, it identifies itself to be the movement, to be the happening, to be the object, and get trapped endlessly within the duality show. When you are not the happening, and you are none of the happening, and you are already prior to every happening, and you are the unmoving, unchanging, ever-present reality, how can any happening that is spontaneously happening can affect you? Because you are yet to know that you are consciousness at present. How to know that you are consciousness? Only by closing eyes. Just now. You come to know the peace within. It is ever there, it is not a happening. You know the stillness within, it is not a happening. It is not spontaneous. It is already there. Spontaneous means it appears and disappears. Here, the stillness or your consciousness that does not appear and disappear originally. Only its expressions are appearing and disappearing. You are neither the appearance nor the disappearance. You are yet to know the unchanging reality within. Then you realize that none of the spontaneous happenings are yourself. Your consciousness needs to wake up from the duality show, from the entire duality show, which is happening spontaneously just now. How to know that everything is spontaneous? Just observe silently. The observer is unmoving, unchanging, and ever present. Only whatever that is observed is constantly changing, moving, appearing, disappearing. You are the constant observer prior to any happening, prior to consciousness, prior to the spontaneous happening by the play of the elements. You are prior to the elements, prior to space. You are already in the nectar state and nothing has never happened to you. Still, you appear to be trapped by each and every spontaneous happening which is not you. Why not to observe silently? and know that you are none of the movement and you are prior to all movement. Just now, unknowingly, your consciousness is trapped by the duality show, which is happening spontaneously in your consciousness, and display by elements is also spontaneous. Within duality, each and every movement is spontaneous. But who observes the duality show? Who observes the spontaneous movement of the elements, spontaneous happening of the objects, spontaneous disappearance of the object other than you? You are that. But how to know that you are that? Only by observing silently. Because every spontaneous happening is within duality, and the observer is prior to duality. The observer is non-dual. Every spontaneous happening is within the duality. You are the observer, observing the spontaneous happening within duality. Once you know this deeply, that you are only the observer and not the spontaneous happening, which happens spontaneously by the elements. There are no person here. Then you remain relieved, you remain relaxed, because there are no person here. To whom are you going to fight? And there are no persons here. You remain utterly peaceful inwardly once you know that there are no persons here, and each and every movement, each and every object, each and every functioning, each and every happening is only by the spontaneous play of the elements and not by you. You only observe the play. You only observe the spontaneous play by the elements, which is not you. Then you feel totally relieved from the spontaneous play, because you are only the observer just now. The observer is never born. Only whatever observed is appearing and disappearing, appearing and disappearing. You are never born. You are the observer. But whatever observed appears to be here for a certain duration and disappears. Whatever you term as the appearance of the form, as birth is spontaneous. Whatever you term as death, the disappearance of the form, that is also spontaneous. Here, each and every movement is spontaneously going on, spontaneously happening. Without knowing the secret of this spontaneous play by the elements, not by any persons here, your consciousness is unknowingly trapped. By not knowing that it is only a play out of the elements, that too spontaneous. Once your consciousness knows that it is only consciousness within, and it is neither the form nor the play that is perceived within duality, your consciousness is relieved from the spontaneous play. But your consciousness is never conscious of itself, then how can it relieve itself from the duality show? So continuously our consciousness is trapped by the elemental play, unknowingly. The only way is that your consciousness should know that it is only consciousness within, beyond space. Within space, everything is spontaneously happening. But beyond space, nothing is happening. There's no movement, neither any changes, and only the truth is there. And you are that truth. Till your consciousness remains conscious of itself and relieves itself consciously from the perceived spontaneous play, it is disturbed constantly and remains tensed constantly, unknowingly. Once your conscious is conscious of itself, it remains wakeful from the spontaneous play. Each and every nanosecond, each and every moment is spontaneous, 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 happening just now, just now, just now. Then what is here to hold on to? What is here to reject to? What is here to fight against? What is here except your consciousness? And your consciousness is also prior to the happening, prior to the spontaneous play. But it never knows, because it refuses to go inward. It never abides inwardly. The only solution for every sickness is to abide inwardly and know the stillness constantly. The moment your conscious is conscious of itself, it starts waking up from the spontaneous dream play within duality. You are the observer prior to the spontaneous dream play, and nothing has never happened to you. Exactly like how you are trapped by the dream till you wake up, here your consciousness is continuously trapped by each and every spontaneous movement of the manifested play unknowingly till it wakes up. Once your consciousness merges with the source, it wakes up totally and knows that nothing has never happened to it. It knows that every spontaneous movement, every spontaneous play is not real. It knows that it is the absolute observer. It knows its eternity. It knows that it is ever here. Just listen deeply. You are only the observer of the spontaneous play by the interaction of the elements. You are neither the play nor the elements within space. Remain conscious of yourself. Abide in stillness constantly and wake up totally to know that nothing has never happened to you, and you are already and always in your original, supreme, eternal, absolute state, the non-dual state, and you are none of the perceived spontaneous duality show. Stay beyond words, observe silently, wake up and know the spontaneous play is not you, and you are the only ever present eternal observer. Just now,